Hello, this is World University and Schools live Hangout on Air on Monday, May 27th, 2019. Hello, Tanya.
Hi.
Glad you're here. How are you
Yay,
doing?
finally, I'm not flying on a Monday. I'm doing
Okay,
good.
great. Are you in Florida now?
Yep. I'm just at home.
Great,
Got
great.
home late last night, so I'm back in Florida.
Where are you flying these days mostly?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
All over?
All over, all over.
Great, great, great.
There we go. Fixed it.
So this is an opportunity to talk a little bit about first matriculating class at World University and School and how you're faring in these regards, and answer any questions you might have. And what are you thinking of these days in terms of the MIT OpenCourseWare courses you're taking?
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to catch up with you anyways because I did 3 classes already and then one with you. And then I started these last 2 classes, and they're proven too difficult for me to do on my own.
Okay.
One of them, more than half of the class material is not provided, and I'd have to go to an outside source. So that has some difficulties in its own way. They're achievable, but just a little bit. That's why I put it off, because it has things to maybe do. I chose the other one to do first, but that one proves too difficult intellectually. I can't figure it out on my own without some kind of help. So I've tried different ways to get help, like watch some videos, YouTube or Khan Academy, and those helped explain some concepts to me. But to go and actually like work with a teacher is where that class needs to be for me.
Thanks for that feedback. Remind me, are all of these courses in your business major, in your undergraduate business major, the ones that are listed in the beginning course catalog on the worlduniversityandschool.org page?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
They are the ones that were given to me as choices, and I guess I picked them in order of easiest to hardest, and so the last 2 are proven too hard. The first 3 were great. I was able to get the books and go at a nice pace, and then the one with you was fantastic because I'm kind of beholden to meeting with you every week, so I had to keep on track. And having both of them, I made them work until my intellect couldn't, get the concept of the class. That's what's stymied me now. That's where I'm at right now.
It was great to meet with you as well, also for Society and Information Technology. And I really enjoyed your paper about algae microfuels and similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, I just want to introduce you both. Tanya and Fritz. Tanya is in World University and School's first matriculating class, Fritz. Fritz, can you hear us? I see you in text, great. Okay. I'm assuming can you hear us? Fritz was here about 3 weeks ago in this Hangout on Air, and technologies weren't working for voice at the time. But just to introduce you, Fritz is, I guess, a visiting scholar, I'd say, at Stanford a lot. I think attending public talks, and originally from Germany, and went actually to a Quaker school for a year, I think Penn Charter School, if I remember correctly, in 76, 77. And I think Tanya has some connections with friends as well, loose maybe, but in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd just like to introduce you both. Interesting to hear and learn. So possible avenues going ahead would be courses with teachers, and this is something we really want to facilitate. So I appreciate hearing from you that teachers for these two courses that are more, let's say, upper level MIT OpenCourseWare courses would be very valuable for you.
Yeah, you've talked in the past about graduate students doing stuff like that, and I can see why that would be very helpful, since I'm in the middle of experience why it would be helpful. So is it Fritz doesn't have audio, but hello, nice to meet you. He can hear us? Okay.
So Fritz, could you hear Tanya just 30 seconds ago? If you could have, okay. So he can hear both of us.
Okay.
Perfect.
But we can't hear him. Okay.
So what are your thoughts about whether teachers might emerge or not this autumn is a big question. What are your thoughts about some of these next courses you might want to take?
That'd be helpful, because where I'm at right now is I have 2 classes left, and I don't want to do those other classes, all the other classes, for my whole college career in vain. I'd like to actually finish it. So
great.
I don't want to give up. And someone who could facilitate helping me finish it would be fantastic.
Wow, this is thank you so much for this these ideas and this good focus. Just to before perhaps I reply to that, Fritz, do you have questions or ideas you want to share in text chat? We'll wait to see if they emerge. One direction for that from World University and Schools perspective, Tanya, is potentially to finish the BPPE, the Bureau of Private Postsecondary Education licensing application with the state of California, which involves getting a $5,000 source of money to pay the fee. The BPPE form is in process. We don't have that money. And that would lead potentially even to, beginning our second matriculating undergraduate class this autumn, where we're hoping to have teachers, potentially hypothetical Stanford graduate students and MIT graduate student teachers teaching to the MIT faculty in the OpenCourseWare. So, yeah, thoughts or questions about that?
I'm patient and hopeful.
Okay, it was a major setback for World University and School not to get the National Science Foundation grant of $250,000. We thought we had gotten it in January. We went ahead and got a DUNS number, which was the next step in the funding process. And then we found out in April, I think, that we didn't get it. So that meant we couldn't pay the BPPE fees or hire the graduate students for this autumn. So it's messed up planning as well.
Yeah.
In a variety of ways.
Sure.
And accreditation is a step in there as well. So I'm glad you're hopeful.
Yeah.
Your interest in these two courses also are helpful focus for World University and School potentially this autumn, because we might find graduate school instructors who could teach these courses, maybe the two you're focusing on, or maybe two other upper level ones that might come out of a Stanford Business School OpenCourseWare approach of a sort. Then they potentially could, that graduate student instructor hypothetically could also, you know, teach first-year students who are taking MIT OpenCourseWare in the beginning of a 4-year course.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a popular major because it's pragmatic. California is pragmatic, and undergraduate liberal arts education, which World University and School is not always pragmatic. So we'll have that pragmatism in there as well.
Yeah, add a little in the mix.
Right. Interesting, great. Other thoughts, or so are you in the are you in a sense waiting for sort of two upper level courses that are MIT OpenCourseWare centric that might be have instructors to help facilitate the process?
Yeah, I think, and I'm glad that we could catch up on this. That's kind of been where I'm at. I'm not anxiously or impatiently waiting on you. I have other things in my life that took over. But I do miss doing the schoolwork. I think it gives me kind of a good schedule, like making sure I got a little bit done. I tried to do a little bit every day, and if I had missed a day, the next day for sure. You know, it kept me kind of consistent, and I like that. So it'd be nice to keep that up. Oops, I've lost your voice. I'm sorry.
Say more, Tanya.
Oh, there we go. I hear you again.
For some reason, my voice keeps getting muted. I'm not sure why. So say more.
Oh, I also want to make sure that you don't confuse the degree that I'm getting with my interest. It is the degree that was the quickest to the end, but it was the classes that would get me to the degree the fastest, but not the interest path that I would normally want to pursue. One thing about this, though, is how fantastic it is to be able to take courses that I want to continue, which is why I miss doing the schoolwork, because I do want to make it a lifelong kind of habit and continue and do another degree with you of interest. So I want to continue after I get the bachelor's and do more with the school.
Fantastic. So are you thinking of the degrees we have sort of offered, you know, or we're planning or thinking about, that would be potentially PhD or law, because it's unlikely you'll head in the MD direction.
No, yeah, it would be the former.
Okay, super interesting. That's a good thinking focus as well, and that opens up interesting avenues for, you know, if we are able to matriculate PhD students in the following year, which is the plan, after we get a large second undergraduate matriculating class. So we're talking potentially this autumn 2019, second maybe 500 students undergraduate class, and autumn 2020 beginning PhDs in English. Then the question of I think how we would invite students into a PhD, to a series of PhD programs. They may be similar majors, there may be more majors. Then there may be as many majors as the 32 MIT OpenCourseWare departments, not just the 6 majors we have going now. And of those, if you know, off the top of your head, would you be, if you could pick a PhD major sort of loosely out of the MIT OpenCourseWare 32 departments, what would you choose?
I'd like to look at the list really quick.
I'll see if we can. Let's see if we can find it. Are you thinking maybe business, or are you thinking?
I don't really want to continue with business. It could, because it's just not my future path. It's
Right.
it's interesting to learn about it, but it won't be applicable for the rest of my life. I'm not going to go get a business job. But I do want to use critical thinking skills for the rest of my life, so that's more of my interest.
Great. So there's the MIT OpenCourseWare. I could think that related topics might include other social sciences.
Yes.
So possibly economics, possibly a related to economics field, possibly sociology, possibly anthropology, subjects like that. And with World University and Schools focus, potentially with a significant digital focus, even a realistic virtual Earth focus.
Yeah, sociology, out of those choices, sociology is one I would for sure like to get more involved with.
Interesting, great.
I brought it up now. I'm looking at all the classes too. So there's
what is the MIT nixed sociology some years ago as a major. I think I'm wondering if that was due to even culture wars of the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. They created something new, something like society, technology, and science, or science, technology, and society. I'm not sure if I have the words in the right order. Are you seeing sociology there?
No.
Okay.
But I do like the English classes.
Okay, interesting.
The American novel since 1945.
Uh-huh.
I would take that class many times over before business finance.
Okay.
But we do have a lot of humanities. There's a lot of those options. But yeah, a lot of science and biology. So I'll stay away from that.
Okay. Great. So English might be a possibility. Sociology might be a possibility. Society, technology, science, technology, and society might be a possibility in those spheres.
MIT's kind of take on their sociology. It is MIT, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting. I wonder if we could, invent something new yet further, having to do with science, technology, society, and business, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I learned a lot from your course, because it kind of had a mixture of everything.
Right. Great. Helpful for thinking. Fritz, do you have any questions or thoughts or ideas you want to share in text chat? If you do, please write them as we go. I'd love to here's some very broad ideas that I'd love to get your feedback both about. These come out of some ideas World University and School has been thinking about for a while, but also in particular a Stanford law course, a law conference this past Friday and Saturday on free speech and the internet. Free speech has been a big issue on university campuses since the 60s and 70s. This is a new twist on it with the internet. In a key coding moment, World University and School seeks to explore not only coding for all 7,111 living languages, connecting our front-end MediaWiki with our back-end Wikidata Wikibase, but also for 7.5 billion potential teachers and learners, such as yourselves. And these would be for matriculated students in all 200 countries' official languages, but also for wiki teachers and learners. So for volunteers, for people like Wikipedians, volunteers in all 300 of its languages. And in planning for 7,111 living languages and people in them, we'd like to plan for all 7.5 billion people. And we'd like to have our law schools teach about this sort of emergence of all people in 200 countries' official and main languages. But in particular, with regard to a single possible emerging from TensorFlow's Google AI software, which is for machine learning, the potential. This is sort of on the business side of things, Tanya, very much in some ways.
Yeah.
We'd like to explore if Google TensorFlow could create a way to generate a stock price for a company in each of all 200 countries' official and main languages, official languages. So could Google TensorFlow create the possibility to, at the end of the day, generate a stock price for IBM in Japan, but also for the WUaS Press, WUaS Corporation, which isn't begun, which is just a legal entity, it's nothing more. And so could our law school faculty teach courses to companies, to individuals, to lawyers about how companies could also list themselves in this hypothetical Google TensorFlow stock price generator? I asked this question of a guy named Doug Melamed, who's a Stanford law professor, on Saturday after his panel. And he also was on bringing in the Quaker connection here. He's been on the board of Sidwell Friends School in Washington, D.C. He's also, I guess, a Yale grad and a Harvard law school grad. And he knows a lot about antitrust questions. So in conceiving of this Google TensorFlow generation of stock prices, which seems reasonable, would there be antitrust questions? Just off the tops of your heads, Fritz and Tanya, what do you, and maybe from a Germany perspective, if a Google TensorFlow could start to list a stock price on the German stock exchange, on one of the German stock exchanges, with its machine learning, would there be antitrust questions around the platform of Google in German law circles? It's a very broad question. And Tanya, if you have any ideas you want to share off, just brainstorming wise, please do.
I hope Fritz is going first, because I'm just going to Google TensorFlow right here.
Okay.
And learn about it.
So TensorFlow is about a year or 2 or 3 years old. It's a machine learning software which brings in data from a variety of sources. One can add one's data sets to it, and then potentially it can learn from this, these data sets, and even make predictions. So in economic markets, there's lots of financial and quantitative data. So the predictions are potentially remarkable.
Sure, yeah. Okay, yeah, this is, proves again that the stuff I've learned about by being introduced to to the classes with you and just talking with you. One of my papers that I did was the blockchain technology, and that's changed my perspective on how the world is changing, and I like to learn about this too. I don't know much about it though to give much of a prognostication right now though.
Interesting question how a hypothetical TensorFlow stock generator would interact with blockchain ledger also. Thanks for bringing that up. So what Doug Malamud said, he's a very sharp lawyer, and after an amazing 2 days of very sharp lawyers talking about constitutional First Amendment free speech questions and recent developments with internet platforms in these regards, was that if there was no manipulation of, in antitrust questions, manipulation of markets, is a key issue that goes back many, many decades in this country, and there's antitrust law in many other countries as well. And so with the IT revolution, you look back at antitrust questions and decisions by courts, and some of them seem absurd, partly because the legal field keeps changing because of the IT revolution. So I would love World University and School to be able to be listed in all 200 countries as a test case, and our law schools to be able to teach our faculty in each of those languages, to be able to teach how companies could join, even as a way for countries to become developed, particularly in Africa, for example.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to move forward.
It's an interesting set of questions. I mean, Google is very entrepreneurial, and TensorFlow is very multifaceted. One can code it for what a company plans to code it for. The questions of how law emerges around, a single platform generating this kind of new technology approach is interesting.
Yeah.
So in a related, what were you going to say, Tanya?
Just to watch how it develops will be very interesting.
In a related vein, I asked Doug Malamud about whether World University and Schools law schools and maybe hypothetical Stanford law schools faculty could facilitate even a single cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger, thinking the MIT Digital Currency Initiative and thinking the euro in 19 out of 28 nation states, backed by basically 19 central banks out of 28 nation states central banks. And could some number of 200 central banks, contribute to or back a single cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger? And could this be distributed? This is very much a business question as well. Could this be distributed also via universal basic income experiments? So there's a state of California is giving away money, no strings attached, $500 a month for 18 months to residents of Stockton, California. And it's either it's something like 100 families or it's 500 residents. And so this is a relationship in this universal basic income experiment history between the state of California and citizens of California in one of the poorest cities, I guess, in California. And here I'm also wondering whether World University and School law faculty could facilitate that, and even in coding for for all 7.5 billion people on the planet, could even the WUaS press facilitate, a single cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger. What are your thoughts about that? And hello, Tanya. Fritz has written also in the text, all types of biases in AI are critical. Absolute quantities like stock prices might be highly exposed to hidden manipulation. Thank you, Fritz. When Fritz and I first met walking around the Stanford campus, he mentioned an interest in ethics in AI. And this is sort of an important extension of that. And I think it would be in law schools and in nation states legal systems that these questions would, come to bear on a hypothetical Google TensorFlow stock generator. I don't know if that makes sense, Fritz. Whether a legal system could handle a German legal system, or a Japanese legal system, or a South African legal system, or a Nigerian legal system, or an Australian legal system could handle the question of biases in a Google TensorFlow stock generator for companies, a stock price generator. So these are both very much in the business vein, and the WUaS Press would potentially like to facilitate both being listed by a Google TensorFlow and also by facilitate, and the World University and Schools Law School faculty potentially could focus generating a single cryptocurrency and distributing it via a universal basic income. So my hope is, with 7.5 billion people, about 4 billion is an estimate by MIT, do not have physical addresses. Maybe they live in villages, maybe they live even not in villages. Could we create avatar bot addresses? So addresses that represent these people, and then either with smartphones or bank cards, with UBI experiments, facilitate a way of alleviating poverty ever. So Fritz writes further, absolute quantities like stock prices might be highly exposed to hidden manipulation, highly difficult to analyze in today's world of AI, competitive advantages toward more private business performance. Yeah. Will universities be meta players in addressing these questions, like the Harvard Law Berkman Klein Center, or what role will also the courts and lawsuits play in this country, in Germany, in Japan? Thoughts about that, Fritz or Tanya? What are your, off the top of your head, Tanya? These are sort of in your business major questions, I guess. Like, they're broad and brainstorming.
It's true. I should have some opinions since I am studying business. I've been taking notes because it's kind of new concepts to think about, but I like all this, and I know you've mentioned this stuff in the past, and it's got a broad scope, which I really like, and would somehow like to facilitate moving forward in whatever way I can. So I'm taking notes so I can kind of look into it more.
Okay, cool. By the way, these Monday Hangouts are saved to World University and Schools YouTube channel, and I just put the URL for today's video hangout in the text chat. I take notes in Stanford talks all the time as a way of engagement, but I appreciate your thinking here too. Yeah, I guess to address Fritz, your questions, in the United States, lawsuits might be one approach. There was also you know, there was some talk by a Yale scholar of an independent review of internet platforms like Facebook and Google, a kind of oversight board. And as I heard him talking, this seemed, you know, something that might work for France or maybe for England. Not, I mean, the U.S. these questions go to Supreme Court usually, but in these regards, you know, with financial markets, there could well be a very sensible idea to have, you know, a kind of financial oversight board of internet platforms, say of Google, in these regards too. I imagine it would all come back to the Supreme Court, but the emergence of a new sort of oversight agency for internet platform questions with regard to free speech and US constitutional questions is fascinating. And competitive justifications, yeah. Fritz asks in text, how to best deal with competitive justifications that are not fully connected with authentic emotional intelligence, like in lawsuits. Yeah, great questions. These are some of the questions I think, Fritz, you were asking when we were walking around Stanford a couple of months ago. Yeah, lawsuits in general and emotional intelligence, authentic emotional intelligence, seem to sometimes not reconcile themselves very easily. Or it depends. In the competitive sphere, I guess in lawsuits, there are some who want to win and there are some who may lose. I guess that has emotional ramifications too. Yeah, I guess addressing, you know, whether the US Supreme Court, which has dealt with competitive justifications, but maybe not with authentic emotional intelligence in antitrust law, you know, has a history with on the competitive justification side legally. Maybe this new hypothetical oversight board could deal with authentic emotional intelligence. Great idea, Fritz. I love it. It's I don't the emotional side has a very interesting and long history in legal history in all 200 countries, in all 7,000 languages. I think, are there other thoughts or questions or ideas you'd like to share before we close? So we don't go on too long.
I'm good on my side, Scott.
All right. So thank you all for joining. This is, I think, a record. The first time we've had 3 people in these Monday Hangouts, live Hangouts on air for World University and School. So it's really nice to see you both. And Fritz, bring your voice at some point if you're inclined. And Fritz writes in text chat, I will think about some emerging ideas. Great. Sounds good. Nice to see you. And we'll talk soon. Next Monday is another Hangout on Air, should you choose to join. And we'll be in touch via email as well. Thank you for joining this Hangout on Air.
Thank you for your efforts, Scott. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Bye.
Bye. So this is World University and Schools live Hangout on Air. Info at WORLDUNIVERSITYANDSCHOOL.org. Twitter.com/WORLDUNIVANDSCH. Similarly with YouTube.com/WORLDUNIVANDSCH. Thank you for joining, and nice to see you, your text chat, Fritz, and look forward to seeing you again. Till soon.